Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching. It's another day. I have not shot this video before, and a lot of my friends that were confused on how I even got this car or what it cost me are like blown away by the story when I tell them. So I figured I'd do a video today on how I got my Corvette and how I spent what I spent on it, which probably the cheapest C6 Grand Sport in America if you look at the statistics. So I'll start with like the mods that I have on it, and then I will talk to you about how I ended up getting the car, hearing about the car, and how much I got it for. We'll save how much I got it for the end of the video, just to sell the sizzle and hope that you stay on and watch the video. So to start with, when I first got the car, it already had an ECS 1500 supercharger kit on it. I've recently taken off the restrictor plate, which didn't really add much. I think it sucks in a little bit more air at lower end, but I haven't really noticed it adding boost to the top end. However, I think that's dictated and changed on when it gets tuned. Currently it's not fully tuned for its potential. It's still on the same tune that I got it from the dealership without the headers. It was on manifolds when I got it from the dealership, and I have not since had it tuned, even though all the FRs look good. I assume it's got a really conservative timing map on it, so hopefully we can make it a lot more stout whenever we do go back to the drawing board and try to pull everything out of this thing that we can for the mods that we have. It is not pulleyed. It's only got a 3.25 pulley on it, I believe. I ended up putting 1 7/8 Speed Engineering long tube headers on it with no cats on the end. So it's just headers, 3-inch X pipe, and then there are 3-inch to 2.5-inch connecting pipes to the X pipes that connect to my stock 2.5-inch axle back, which I'm just kind of bored of at this point. Pull these off and more than likely get turn downs right before the axle for like 380 bucks or 480 bucks. It was very cheap considering Cook's prices. It didn't have any gauges, so I went with the next series that shows like 15.43 wideband. It's got the extra decimal. You can select the modes from like lambda and air fuel ratio. I put a Pro Sport LED boost gauge in it that's got red LED, which matched the interior. So I went ahead with that. I'm lucky enough to have my first convertible vehicle in a Targa top. So my top does come off. I got the car with like 40,000 miles on it. It's got probably 56,000 on it now. I've probably had this car for like 2 years. Burnt the clutch line when I did the long tube headers because I didn't wrap them at first and they burnt through my clutch line. That was a long, hard going learning process. That's also on my channel. I've got underdash LEDs that are connected to like my dome light, and these also light up in red, so the whole interior glows red. It's kind of cool when you're down to have some fun. I've got a ZL1 hood vent that was added by whoever had the car before me. That's got red LEDs in it, and I've also got red LEDs in the fenders, which are down there. Relatively clean car. I think there's like one minor accident on the car report, but when I came across this car, what I got it for, I did not care about the accident. Anybody that wants a Corvette, I'm sure they will get it at whatever cost it takes. Whenever you get that bug, you just want a Corvette. I still got my little flappy thing back here. It had these little LS3 valve covers. I've already got HP tuners on the car. My little dongle to connect to the car is back there via laptop. That's about it. All my neons for outside are connected to those switches, which are powered by that little plug-in right there. Whenever I want to drop tire pressure, if I do, I've got my little tire pressure unit, some OZM for odor. I also have a Racetronics fuel wiring pump harness set up. They go straight from the alternator to the fender well, along with my booster pump is in there that came with the kit. Grand Sport wheels, 19s. I've got the R888 Toyo Proxys radials that have not been put on yet, but I just did some videos for those. But I figured I would cover what I actually got this car for. How much did I pay for this car? My uncle is a shareholder at a dealership, actually a couple dealerships down south, which means he invested in the company when either they were hurting for money or weren't doing too well, or maybe it was a friend that wanted to bring him in, or maybe he brought something to the table. I don't know why he's a shareholder, but I do know that he is. So one day he was at the dealership for his wife peeping some new SUVs to replace her current car that was ready to be upgraded, and he sent me a picture of this car, and it was in the showroom. It had been there about 30 days. So a rule of thumb for car dealerships, if they don't get rid of a car within 30 days, especially when it sits in the showroom, technically they're losing money on it and the slot it's taking up to show a vehicle. So car dealerships don't like cars that have been there more than 30 days. He sent me a picture of the car and he told me to tell him why it wasn't selling, because he knew that I did a lot of sports cars. I bought and sold a lot of cars. I've probably had over 60 cars up to date, and I'm 32 years old, so I just turned 32. I said, all right, well, what do they want for it? He sent me the internet link for it where it was posted online. I think it was on Craigslist, and they didn't even have it listed in the description that it had a supercharger kit on it, amongst other things. I said, well, that's one of your first problems. The other problem is not a lot of people want to invest in a Corvette with a red interior base. So it's two-tone black and red. It's just not a very sought-after interior package, as well as the fact that I didn't even realize it had a supercharger until I got to like the 30th photo. They had like 40 or 45 photos on the car listing itself. So I listed all those issues. A, they didn't claim that it had a supercharger, which would have helped it sell. And B, it's not going to help selling it that it's got red interior on top of red seats. I know a lot of people are not big fans of the red seats, or at least a millennial age person like myself isn't going to care. But there's a lot of older people that tend to buy these cars, and more wealthier older people that aren't going to prefer that interior package. So those are three really big reasons on why I thought the car had not sold up to date. So luckily for me, he's like, well, why don't I work you out a deal to where you can buy it and you can get it for like pennies on the dollar. We can get rid of it. I'll take the hit financially on my side so the dealership doesn't look at me sideways when I pitch them an idea. You write me like a paragraph or two on why their internet sales manager sucked, or the guy that lists online for that particular dealership sucks at his job, and what they did wrong, and tell me what you can pay for it. Because I'd already told him I wasn't interested. I didn't have the means of wanting to finance a car this crazy, because I think the list price for it at the time was like 30 grand. So I was like, look, I'm not in the market for a car. I already have 2 sports cars. I have no need for this vehicle. And trying to explain it to my wife is just not going to work. He said, all right, well, give me a number that would be crazy for you to obtain, that you would actually try to obtain it, and what could you afford? And I'm like, honestly, at the time, like $200 a month. And after I did the math on what $200 a month would come out to after like 4 or 6 years of financing, the median came out to like $10,000. So I said, look, if you want to do that route, I'll do everything you said prerequisite wise. I'll do 10 grand for the car. And he's like, all right, let me talk to him. I'm like, oh my God, he actually went for it. Like, okay. I told my wife, I'm like, look, this is what's going on. If this happens, I'm not even gonna finance the car. I'm just gonna buy it in cash, because I had 10 grand at the time. And about 2 hours later, he wrote me back and he said, hey, when you want to come get it? And I'm like, are you shitting me right now? And he's like, no. He's like, it works out for everybody. It's a decent plan. It's got reason behind it. And again, I'll take the hit on my end. It'll hurt me, but I'm comfortable. I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm like, okay, so you want to sell me this car for 10 grand? He's like, sure, come on down. Let me know when you can come. And it was about 7 hours down south in South Florida. So needless to say, I got a friend together and literally drove down south that night and picked it up the next day. And long story short, I got a 2011 Grand Sport Corvette dry sump oiling system LS3 6-speed with a supercharger on it for $10,000. So a lot of my friends have always been kind of blown away by this story, and it's not one you hear every day. So a couple of my friends are like, dude, you've got a YouTube channel, you need to make a video on that alone. And this is that video. So I hope this answered some questions for you. A lot of people are really confused on how these YouTubers get these cars without knowing the story, or unless their subscriber count's high enough to justify whatever money they are making. And I'll do another video on how much money I make with YouTube, since I have enough subscribers that I do make money off of YouTube, but that'll be another video in itself. For now, you have been educated. I have told you, now that you have seen everything that I have to offer, and you know how much I paid for the car, I will let the algorithm do the rest. For now, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, comment down below any questions, concerns, and I'll be happy to keep up the best that I can, because we grow every day. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.